Hey everyone, we're here for another quick conversation for the long haul of leadership with Tod Bolsinger. We're going to look at a quote from Audrey Davidheiser. This is from episode 284 titled How to Respond Thoughtfully Instead of Reacting. And here's what she said. She said, if you feel anxious or rushed or concerned or fearful, deep breaths. Because taking deep breaths from the belly is just a natural way that God has instilled in our brain, that it just kind of resets the nervous system and it allows ourselves to come back up online. One more time, if you feel anxious or rushed or concerned or fearful, deep breaths. Because taking deep breaths from the belly is just a natural way that God has instilled in our brain, that it just kind of resets the nervous system and allows ourselves to come back up online. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense, especially if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, whatever it is, you're going through something challenging. But Tod, the question for you is, we understand why it is effective in regard to stress, but why is this important for leaders?
Because leaders have a lot of stress.
They sure do.
The very first thing she said was about if you're feeling anxious.
Yeah.
And one of the parts we talk a lot about in adaptive leadership is you're leading in a way where you're not an expert. So it's a vulnerable way of leading, which means very, very often you have to contend with your anxiety and somebody else's anxiety. And in the words of Tricia Taylor, who I think has been interviewed here on this podcast, anxiety makes you stupid.
Yeah.
We don't think very well when we're anxious.
Yeah.
This is why this whole podcast, that whole episode is so important, because what it's teaching leaders is you're having to make really hard decisions that impact people's lives. You need to be at your best. Yeah. You're not at your best when you're holding your breath.
Yeah.
You're not at your best when you're responding to stress.
Yeah.
You're not at your best when you're so anxious about yourself that you're unable to think about what does the mission need? What do my people need? What do the people we're trying to reach need?
Yeah.
What if it's going to cause us to have some loss or going to be disruptive? So it's amazing. In my books, there's almost every book, there is some place in it where we teach people you're going to need to stay calm. You're going to need to learn how to calm down. Calming down is a leadership skill.
Yeah. Well, okay, let me ask you about that. Deep breaths is probably a core way that we can calm ourselves down. Do you have any other ideas or tips for calming yourself down? I imagine myself sitting around, a session meeting or a board meeting or just in conversation with an antagonistic, person in the congregation, and then wanting to, anxiety comes up and you vomit out something you wish you wouldn't have said later, but what are some things we can do to just sort of lower the temperature in ourselves?
Well, we actually do a lot of coaching around this. There's several different books and resources to talk about this. And the very first thing is every one of them says is you have to recognize and admit that you're not calm.
That's good.
Like what's interesting is when you notice you're getting anxious or you notice you're rushing or you notice that you're not at peace. I mean, most of us notice that we're rushing or that we're holding our breath or that our stomachs are tight or that the veins on our neck have gone out or that we're seeing red. We notice that before we ever have a chance to say, oh, this is making me anxious.
Yeah.
So one of the first things, there's been some research on this. You can go from being completely activated, like fiery mad, to calm and able to make wise decisions in 30 seconds. But it starts with having to admit that you are activated, you're fiery mad.
Yeah.
And what most of us do is we get so ashamed of our feelings at that moment that we deny it. We say, I'm not mad at all. This doesn't bother me at all. This is like, I don't know what you guys, it's your problem, not mine.
Right.
Well, the clock hasn't started yet because you're still fighting with yourself. As soon as you can say, oh man, that hurt my feelings. That makes me scared. That makes me anxious. That's making me mad. Okay. Start a process, and you can kind of talk your way into a process that eventually gets you not very long to a place where you're able to be calm. One of my mentors, Jim Osterhaus, taught us about moving from what he called the red zone to the blue zone. The red zone where we're completely anxious to the blue zone where it's no longer about me,
Hmm.
but it's about our mission and what
Hmm.
it's bigger than me. But you
Yeah.
have to, and I coach people, we talk about the fact that you've got to pay attention to purple. You got to pay attention to how red turns to blue, or sometimes how blue fires off into red. It's that
Right.
in between stage that you have to
Right.
work on.
That's great. That's really good. Really good advice. Here's the quote one more time from Audrey Davidheiser. She said, "If you feel anxious or rushed or concerned or fearful, deep breaths, because taking deep breaths from the belly is just a natural way that God has instilled in our brain, that it just kind of resets the nervous system and it allows ourselves to come back up online."